Overtaking signs and marks. 1. Overtaking signs. No overtaking sign. It is a circular sign with white background and red frame, contains a picture of two cars, one in black and the other in red color. Indicates start of no overtaking area for all vehicles. Truck no overtaking sign. It is a circular sign with white background and red frame, contains a picture of a car in black color and a truck in red color, indicating starting of no overtaking area for trucks. Heavy vehicles. End of no overtaking sign. It is a circular sign with white background and black frame, contains a picture of two cars in black color and inclined diagonals, indicates end of no overtaking area for vehicles. End of no overtaking sign for trucks. It is a circular sign with white background and black frame, contains a picture of a car and a truck in black color and inclined diagonals, indicates end of no overtaking area for trucks. Warning signs. Driver has not to overtake when he sees any of the warning signs because the existence of these signs warn of the existence of a risk on the road, and in this case, overtaking subjects you and other road users to risk. 2. Overtaking marks. No overtaking mark. The driver is prohibited to overtake when he sees this line because there may be a curve or a height ahead and insufficient visibility. Prohibition is for all vehicles without exception. No overtaking confirmation mark. The driver is prohibited to overtake when he sees these two lines because there may be a curve or a height ahead and insufficient visibility. Prohibition is for all vehicles without exception. No overtaking mark for the vehicle that the continuous line is at its left. The driver of the vehicle that the continuous line is at its left is prohibited to overtake when he sees this continuous line because there may be a curve or a height ahead and insufficient visibility. Prohibition is for all vehicles without exception. 5th section. Overtaking steps. The driver must overtake with his vehicle from the left side of the vehicle preceding his vehicle, and he has to commit with the following. Follow traffic signs, marks placed or engraved on the road. Make sure that the road is clear in front of him for a sufficient distance to complete overtaking process. Look at the inside mirror and then at the side one and take a look over the shoulder to make sure that the situation is safe and there are no vehicles in the blind spots and the overtaking is allowed. Alert road users that you want to overtake by a light or sound signal. While overtaking, keep away from the overtaking obstacles by a sufficient safe side distance. Look at the mirror to make sure of the completion of the overtaking process and give the necessary light signal, right signal, to inform other road users of the completion. Overtaking a big vehicle, you have to take a look on the two sides of this vehicle before starting overtaking, taking into consideration not to return to the lane of the big vehicle except after seeing it in the mirror. Determine the speed and do the following procedures. A. Determine the suitable shift position and the speed to be able to complete overtaking process in the shortest possible time. B. Reduce the speed when overtaking buses and stopped passenger cars to drop passengers. C. Overtaking is always done from the left of the other vehicles or obstacles. Unless the driver of the vehicle required to be overtaken, gives a turn signal to the left. Sixth section. No overtaking places. Invisible heights and acute curves. Slippery roads, circular squares, near pedestrians crossings, schools, hospitals, gardens, and emergency vehicle lanes. Road turns, bridges, and tunnels. All places in which overtaking is prohibited by using traffic signs or marks. Seventh section. No overtaking cases. No overtaking of passenger buses allocated for transport of students when stopped in residential areas. When vision is hard on the road because of natural or emergency circumstances, fog or dust. Police cars, internal security forces, ambulance, civil defense and rescue in emergency cases and when using alert and warning devices. Group of stopped cars because of disruption of traffic motion or stop of vehicles or traffic motion that does not allow the completion of overtaking process safely. If the front vehicle required to be overtaken is moving with a speed that makes the completion of overtaking hard. If the front vehicle is overtaking another vehicle. If there is another vehicle that moves at the rear and started to overtake. When the driver of the preceding vehicle gives a signal of no overtaking. Eighth section. When overtaking, the following must be taken into consideration. It is prohibited to increase the speed of the vehicle when another vehicle is overtaking it, and the driver has to enable others to achieve this overtaking. Follow guidelines indicated on any mark placed or engraved on the road surface by the licensing authority. Give way to emergency vehicles, police, internal security forces, civil defense and ambulance, while performing emergency service, with a reduction of speed or stop moving if necessary. Clear the road immediately if there are emergency motor vehicles, police, internal security forces, civil defense and ambulance, at intersections, junctions or crossroads to give way to these vehicles without any obstacle. Ninth section. Rules and ethics of overtaking. It is prohibited to increase the speed of the vehicle when another vehicle is overtaking it, and the driver has to enable others to make this overtaking safely. When meeting another vehicle, the driver required to be overtaken has to facilitate the overtaking process, including to take extreme right of carriageway and reduce the speed of the vehicle if the situation requires. The driver of a vehicle that transports a load and cannot be overtaken because of road situations and traffic motion has to reduce the speed of his vehicle and exit as necessary as possible to road shoulder to give way to vehicles behind to overtake it safely. Tenth section. Side winds and their effect on overtaking. Side winds are divided into two types. 1. Vacuum winds resulting from speed of vehicles. The effect of these two types of wind seen obvious and even more during overtaking of large vehicles. In such circumstances, the small vehicles are subjected to pull off toward the large vehicles when the small vehicles perform overtaking process. To overcome this problem, hold the steering wheel firmly with both hands with appropriate guidance of steering wheel. 2. Natural wind. It is formed during changes in different weather conditions. Its effect differs on vehicles according to their speed, and when approaching a barrier or a vehicle, it approaches from this barrier because of the sudden reduction of the wind speed. Speed limit rules. First section. Speed traffic signs. Maximum speed limit sign. It is a circular sign with white background and a red frame. Determined inside it the allowed speed, and it is prohibited to increase the speed more than the speed determined in the traffic sign. End of maximum speed limit sign. It is a circular sign with white background, determined inside it the speed in black color. Indicates end of speed limit and characterized by inclined black lines. Minimum speed limit sign. It is a circular sign with blue background, determined inside it the speed in white color, and it indicates that the speed must not be less than the determined speed. End of minimum speed limit sign. It is a circular sign with blue background, determined inside it the speed in white color, indicates the end of the minimum speed limit and characterized by inclined red line. Two. Speed road surface marking. Speed road surface marks. They are labels or paints placed on road surface in the middle of lanes to indicate maximum speed limit and hold the same meaning of speed limit traffic signs. Speed slow marks. They are transverse successive landlines in yellow color placed before intersections on the roads and curves, aiming to slow the speed. Second section. Commitment of the driver with speed rules. A. It is prohibited to exceed the maximum speed limit of motor vehicles on the road. B. Reduce the vehicle speed when approaching from pedestrians crossings, schools and hospitals, bridges and tunnels, turns, curves and slopes, populated areas, crossroads, intersections, roundabouts, and when entering squares. C. Control the vehicle and adapt its speed according to the road condition and the situation, vehicle condition and the load, and weather conditions, so that it can be stopped or reduce its speed if necessary. D. Do not drive the vehicle in unusual slow speed in a way that doesn't suit the road situation, the vehicle condition and its load, and weather conditions that may lead to obstruction of the normal motion of other vehicles if it is not a reasonable cause. E. Do not use brakes suddenly in order to reduce the vehicle's speed or stop it, if not necessary for safety of motion on the road. F. Alert clearly by sufficient time when starting reducing the speed. Third section. Speed limits on roads. It must be committed with maximum speed limit indicated in the signs and marks placed on the road, and if not existing, maximum speed limit will be determined for vehicles as A. Internal roads. Maximum speed limit for passengers, cars, taxis, rent cars, tourist cars, and motorcycles on internal roads. In cities, villages, and populated areas is 100 km per hour. Maximum speed limit for other motor vehicles on internal roads in cities, villages, and populated areas is 50 km per hour. B. External roads. The maximum speed limit for passengers cars, taxis, rent cars, tourist cars, motorcycles on external roads is 120 km per hour. The maximum speed limit for other motor vehicles on external roads is 80 km per hour. Fourth section. Speed violations on roads. A. The law punishes exceeding the speed limit by a fine of 500 Qatari riyals, and an amount of 100 Qatari riyals will be added against every 10 km per hour of speed increase and not exceeding 1000 Qatari riyals. B. The law punishes the failure to reduce the speed when approaching the following places by a fine of 300 Qatari riyals: pedestrian crossings, bridges and tunnels, populated areas, schools and hospitals, turns, curves, and slopes, crossroads, roundabouts, and when entering squares. C. The law punishes by a fine of 300 Qatari riyal everyone who does not commit with the following: failure to control the vehicle and adapt its speed according to road conditions and situations, vehicle condition and load and weather conditions. Keep driving the vehicle in unusual slow speed in a way that does not suit the road situation, the vehicle condition and its load, and the weather conditions that may lead to obstruction of traffic motion. Using brakes suddenly in order to reduce vehicle speed or stop it without reason. Failure to alert clearly by sufficient time when starting to reduce the speed. D. The law punishes by imprisonment for a period not less than 1 month and not more than 3 years, and a fine of 10 to 50,000 Qatari riyals or one of the two punishments, and to add 4 points to the balance of everyone who commits the violation of driving a vehicle on the road carelessly, unwarned, or in a way that subjects person's life and monies to risk, involved in a race on the road without written permit or violation of the permit, drove the vehicle carelessly or negligently, which subjects its driver, passengers, or others to risk. Fifth section. Zero speed. It is the exceeding of speed limit more than 180 km per hour. Turning and U-turning. First section. Definition. Turning. It is the change of the vehicle direction to the right or to the left to pass in another road or if there are turns on the road. U-turning. It is the reverse of the vehicle direction to the opposite direction of the road. Road signs and marking. 1. Turning and U-turning signs. No turning and U-turning signs. They are circular signs with red frame and diagonal and white background. Inside it there is an arrow that indicates to the prohibited direction. Turning and U-turning mandatory signs. They are circular signs with blue background, inside it a white arrow that indicates to a mandatory or compulsory direction. Mandatory direction sign. It is a rectangular sign with a white background, inside it a blue arrow of the mandatory or compulsory direction. U-turn directional sign. It is a rectangular sign with blue background, inside it a white arrow indicates to the allowed place of U-turning. Road turns warning signs. They are equilateral triangle signs with a red frame and white background, contains black arrows that indicate to the direction of turning on the road. Turn warning sign. It is a rectangular sign with a white background. Inside there are arrows in red that indicate to the road turn direction. It is used in the areas of heading turn and visible turn. 2. Turning and U-turning lane markings. They are marks engraved on the road surface in the shape of arrows indicating to the mandatory direction of each lane to show lanes of turning or U-turning. 3. Turning and U-turning traffic light. It is a traffic light. Inside it, an arrow indicates to the mandatory direction of turning in case of green light. Third section. Procedures of turning and U-turning. 1. Turning on the road. A. Turning conditions. It is prohibited to turn left in highways if there are no places allocated for this. Turning should not constitute risk to the driver or road users. If there is no hand signal from traffic policemen or a sign prohibits turning. Commit with arrow directions engraved on the road surface or traffic lights. Turn at the places without traffic signs that prohibit passing in the required direction. Turn from the correct lane. B. Turning reasons. Meeting of the road with another road in a T-shape. There are obstacles on the road. There are turns on the road. There is a signal from traffic policemen or a sign mandates vehicles to turn left or right. C. Turning steps. Take the decision before arriving to the intersection and watch the signs. Watch traffic motion using mirrors by looking back and start by using direction lights for alerting. Select the correct lane and pay attention to traffic motion, pedestrians, and other subsidiary or potential risks at or nearby the intersection. Reduce speed gradually or stop according to traffic lights, traffic signs, or guidance signals. It is prohibited to turn at an acute angle or an increased wide angle than necessary, swaying or moving between lanes after turning. Leaving through turning and complete it on the correct lane when traffic motion allows this. Two. Turns on the road. A. Turning mechanism. Forces affecting turning on the road. When turning with your vehicle while driving, your vehicle loses somewhat of its balance as a result of direction change forces, or so-called centrifugal force, which needs opposite force in order to fix the vehicle at turns. This force has the magnitude of the cohesion of wheels with the road surface friction force. Therefore, to reduce the centrifugal force, you have to reduce your speed at turns to increase cohesion force of wheels with the road surface as more as you accelerate as acute as the turn, which causes loss of control on the vehicle inside the turn and leads to its overturn. B. Safe turning conditions. Put your vehicle in the proper position of the road when approaching from the turn. Use a speed suitable to the angle of acuteness of the turn. Shift transmission to the position suitable to this speed to continue on moving. You must be able to stop at the side of the road within the distance that you can see clearly. U-turning on the road. A. U-turning conditions. The road is not a one-way road. If there is no hand signal from traffic policemen or a sign that prohibits U-turning, there is no heavy traffic. U-turning area must be visible for drivers in all directions. There is no continuous line or pedestrians crossing at the place of U-turning. U-turning does not constitute a risk for the driver or road users. It is prohibited to U-turn back in highways if there are no places allocated for this purpose. It is prohibited to U-turn at the places of U-turn allocated to ambulance, police, and civil defense cars. B. U-turning reasons. Road closing for any reason, such as traffic diversions, damage on the road, traffic accident, an obstacle. There is a signal from the traffic policeman or a sign that mandates vehicles to U-turn. C. U-turning steps. U-turning in white roads is performed directly in one U-turn stage. U-turning in a narrow road is performed in 3 or 5 stages depending on road width and vehicle length.